Hey, what's going on, everyone? Let's talk about some big books today. So, Big Books of Summer started about 2 weeks ago, so I'm late to the party as per usual. But this is a reading event that was created by Sue Jackson. I think she said 13 years ago, originally on her blog. Made her way over to BookTube fairly recently, and last year was actually the first year I had heard about it, so that's really cool. Melinda over at A Web of Stories is also co-hosting this year, and I'm going to leave links to their announcement videos down below. But it's all about reading big books of 400 pages or longer over the course of the summer. So let's just go ahead, get right into it. Try to come up with a couple of different things here. And one is I've been neglecting my Folio Society books for whatever reason, which is probably like a crime some places, I'm sure. But I have the Icelandic sagas here. This is one. There's 2 volumes of these. This is the first one. I've read a few of them. Like for example, Egil Saga is in here, and that's probably my favorite Norse saga. But we got a whole bunch, including Injal's and Egil's. But there's quite a few in here that I actually am not super familiar with, like the Vopnafjordinga saga, and there was one other, oh, yeah, the Erbygja saga. I'm not even sure what that one is. I feel bad. I'm probably like butchering that like so bad. But like I said, you got a couple familiar ones, plus Eric the Red saga, the Greenlander saga, and everything like that. But a couple of different plates and illustrations, I think, in here. Let's find out. I'm pretty sure there is. Oh, yeah, there's a few. There must be a few plates. I knew there would be if it's Folio Society. So you got some weird, crazy artwork going on in there as well. But like, just look at that cover. What am I doing ignoring this one? I don't know. Don't listen to me, because apparently I don't have good taste since I haven't finished that one as of yet. Now, my nature books. Unfortunately for nature reading, there's just not a lot of big books, and the very few that I do have that are like, of that length for like nature and science and animal books and that kind of stuff, I've read for like other challenges. But I did recently pick one up for my big book haul that's coming up. I did recently pick up Richard Dawkins' The Ancestor's Tale, which is like pretty much like a like new paperback copy here. This is one of his older ones from what I remember, I think early 2000s. And this is kind of Dawkins kind of looking at our DNA and that kind of thing. And I think he starts with like the modern era and starts working our way backwards based on like different evolutionary changes and stuff, down like kind of like human ancestry all the way back to the beginning and that kind of thing. But this is definitely like on the longer side. I think it's like 600 pages. Let's see. Yeah, 600 with the end. Oh, it's still over 600 even with without like the index and the notes and stuff like that. But I read one of his other books and I enjoyed it. So I've heard that like some can be kind of hit or miss and that kind of thing. So not 100% sure about this one, since this one isn't like, I don't think it's like as famous as The Greatest Show on Earth or The Blind Watchmaker and stuff like that. So not 100% sure what I'm getting into, but like I said, I couldn't pass that one up. Now for one that I am in the middle of, and it clocks in at exactly 400 pages, I think. As far as, oh no, so I guess it's 420. I think it's like 400. Yeah, 420. So, some people will enjoy that as well. But we got There Is No Place for Us, Working and Homeless in America by Brian Goldstone. And what this book is doing is kind of taking a journalistic look at 5 different families that are living in Atlanta and are in different kind of aspects of homelessness and kind of what brought them to those circumstances, particularly because they were employed at the time of their homelessness. And like I've said in other videos, there is the stigma when people are thinking about or seeing homelessness. They think, people made bad decisions, or they're just being lazy, or bad life choices, whatever, things like that. And this shows how that's not really necessarily the case, especially in places where the cost of living is quite high. And there are different definitions of homelessness as well. And it's kind of disturbing, kind of learning about how in a lot of the hardcore, I guess like official studies, I should say, or I guess kind of like record taking and like census sort of things, a lot of governments and municipalities, since they don't want to like admit to the homelessness problem, they literally strictly count people as homeless if they are literally on the streets or in a shelter. So people living in cars, people just kind of couch surfing on and off and on and off and on and off, or living in those like kind of extended stay motels and stuff. They don't count that as homelessness a lot of the time, which is just kind of, schools pretty much always count that kind of thing as homeless because it effectively is. But anyways, like I said, this book has taken a look at, like I said, a couple of really like kind of specific case scenarios and showing how, like I said, different kinds of circumstances can lead to homelessness. And it just shows like how small kind of the lifeline is for people that are living paycheck to paycheck between being like, being housed and being homeless. So kind of sad, kind of disturbing. And like I said, in my previous line of work, I did work with several people that, basically fell into that exact category of, being employed either part-time or full-time and being homeless at the same time. So it is, like I said, it's an issue I think that more people need to go and look and think about. All right, so going on to philosophy, I kind of feel like that if this isn't the time, I don't know what is. I need to just like bite the bullet here and get this one out of the way. So I've been reading a little bit on existentialism and and then also some contemporary philosophers. And as much as I can't stand Martin Heidegger, I feel like I have to kind of read Being and Time, as it's referenced by basically everyone in the 20th and 21st century. There's just really, really no way around it. I might take I think my edition is about like 500-ish pages. What I might do is just try to do like maybe, 10 or 12 pages at a time. Maybe, and just like digest them like really slowly. Like read the 10 or 12 pages. Jot some notes and thoughts down for like a couple days and then do the next little batch, that kind of thing. It's pretty hard to, I guess, to overestimate, like I said, the impact on like kind of the past like 100 years of philosophy. So we shall see. Like I said, I just finished At the Existentialist Cafe, which kind of did deal with Heidegger and a lot of his successors and stuff quite a bit, as well as his predecessor, Edmund Husserl. So like I said, this is probably the time to do it if I'm ever gonna do it. So if anyone wants to read this with me, let me know and we'll set something up in the philosophy Discord. So after that, we got some history books. History books definitely fit the longer book stuff out of the things that I have. So one I didn't get to earlier this year that I kind of meant to was Adrian Goldsworthy's Augustus, from Revolutionary to Emperor. So I read Anthony Everett's biography of Augustus, and I was kind of gonna read them both at the same time, and I just kind of decided I didn't want to read two Augustus biographies like back to back. But I haven't read much Roman history yet this year, so I think I will get to this one as well. I've read several of Adrian Goldsworthy's other books, and he's definitely like one of those just kind of top-notch classical Roman scholars. It's going to be like, a 4-star read or better, which is kind of really nice. You're not going to get like a dud or just a swing and a miss. So like I said, just kind of looking forward to a nice scholarly history of Emperor Augustus. So one here that I'm not 100% sure about is Silent Cavalry by Howell Raines. It is how Union soldiers from Alabama helped Sherman burn Atlanta and then got written out of history. So I have no idea what is going on here. And don't let this like little tiny book fool you. I think it's like 560 pages. Like it doesn't really look like it would be. 541 it looks like. So yeah, like I said, like it doesn't really look that big, but it's actually quite meaty, I guess, as far as like text is concerned and everything. But yeah, from what I understand, it's about I guess a bunch of Southerners who defected to the Union cause, and I guess the history books just like forgot about them, and that's why I've never heard of them either, presumably, and stuff. So I guess it's gonna, like I said, obviously dealing with Sherman's march to the sea, where it was just, scorched earth policy for, I can't remember if it was like a 60-ish mile swath or so. So apparently they were part of that, and I'm gonna guess once people found out, they were from Alabama and that kind of thing, there was a lot of tension between, being a Southerner but not being pro-Confederacy and that kind of thing. So we shall see. Like I said, I haven't read a Civil War history in, probably like 5 or 6 years, so might be a good way to kind of like brush up on a little bit of stuff kind of going around as well. Let's see. These next two are on the same topic, sort of. We got Rick Atkinson's The Fate of the Day, The War for America, Fort Ticonderoga and Charleston, 1777 to 1780. I'm just about done this one. If it wasn't for like my April and May being like very mediocre, like reading months as far as like page wise, I probably should have finished this by now. I was planning on finishing this like a month ago, but I've been kind of just like reading a chapter or two, and then like taking a break and like started reading something else for whatever reason. But this is the second book in a trilogy, or planned trilogy, I should say. The third one obviously isn't out yet. This one just came out fairly recently. But it's actually just a really, really good kind of narrative history of the American Revolution. There's a big emphasis on like kind of the military campaigns and that kind of stuff, but there's also a lot of threads going on, especially in this one, which I've been really enjoying, with kind of the French involvement, how that kind of got started, who were kind of the players over in the old world, kind of dealing with different things and stuff, and kind of getting the ball rolling there. So I've been really, really enjoying it. And it's been quite interesting seeing kind of just like all the flops and foibles, especially on the American side of the general strategies and tactics, and how they sort of panned out, or more often than not did not pan out according to plan, and that kind of thing. So like I said, been really enjoying this one as well. And then this one is another one. This one was sent to me, I think it was Bloomsbury, yes. Shots Heard Round the World, America, Britain, and Europe in the Revolutionary War by John Ferling. So I think this is going to be a good kind of, maybe not counter isn't the right word, but kind of another lens to look at the Revolutionary War, especially after reading Fate of the Day and the first volume in the trilogy that I read, I think in February, which is The British Are Coming. And I think this is kind of taking a more like kind of global perspective with like other countries' involvement in the Revolutionary War. Like just like I said, in particular, like France kind of dealing with stuff, you know, in the West Indies and stuff, had actually a really, really big impact on kind of diverting manpower and resources from the colonies and the states and stuff. So, like I said, I don't know. I guess other countries, kind of their involvement as well. Spain was kind of like the whole argument of, you know, if France and Spain actually like, you know, went to war with Britain directly, you know, that could have been like a really big deal if a second front like in Europe kind of like opened up and everything like that. So, like I said, I think it's just gonna be a cool kind of like different lens to look at things through for the Revolutionary War. And then lastly, if I feel super crazy ambitious, I might do the Landmark Herodotus. So I've done the Landmark Thucydides before, and I've read Herodotus before, but I've never read this one straight through, if that makes sense. I've kind of like looked at a few of the appendices and some of the notes on certain passages and stuff, but I've never just like sat down and just gone through this one. So the Landmark books are super famous for their kind of like footnotes and like in-text commentary, all the maps and stuff. There's different appendices when things come up. So yeah, they're just really, really, really good, high quality. Let's see, a couple of the other ones. There's Xenophon's Anabasis? I can't remember which one of no, I think it's the other one. That's just kind of the other half of the Peloponnesian War. There's Caesar's Gallic Wars, and there might be another one. I feel bad, I can't remember off the top of my head. Supposedly there will be a Polybius one someday, which I will snatch that up as soon as that one comes out because of my Punic War kind of fanboy stuff. You know, there's a lot of Punic War stuff in Polybius. So anyways, there you have it. There's a bunch of books that I'm going to try to read over the course of the summer. It would be an absolute miracle if I even get to like, 6 out of these 9 books, I'd say. So we're going to aim for like 4. I don't know, I got 3 months. I'm going to aim for 5. So hold me accountable to that. Let me know if you are going to be participating in Big Book Summer. And if you are, what I guess the big book that you're most excited for is. Always on the lookout for more big books. And actually, with all these challenges, I'm actually knocking out the majority of like the bigger books that I own, to be honest. Like they said, there was only about a dozen or so that kind of fit into this category. So actually, I kind of feel really good about that in a way. So maybe that's just a sign I need to get some more books like on the bigger side. But anyways, if you want some recommendations as well, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe I'll do a video on kind of my recommendations that you could read. They're 400 pages or longer for the summer, but whatever you end up reading, whether it's a big book of summer or not, read victoriously.